Hello everyone, I'm Paul, and welcome to another Zenless Zone Zero video. Today's topic is going to be field time, and we will be going in depth about the definition of field time itself and how field time influences the decisions you make in this game. Of course, before we talk about specific agents and decisions and playstyles, we have to take a look at the basic terminology. We have to define the term itself. So, how I would define field time is the amount of time that a character is actively controlled on the battlefield. And I would like to clarify this actively controlled part, because this might sound a little confusing at first. But in order to actually showcase this definition in action, I'm going to go to free training mode and do a few tests. Here is my first team that I ever built, my first actual team. So now I'm just running around with Soldier 11. I am controlling her, do keep in mind. I am pressing movement keys, I'm turning my camera with my mouse, I'm attacking, all that stuff. When I switch to the next agent, Soldier 11 exits the field, and she is no longer being controlled by the player. Now I'm controlling Caesar. The same thing could be said when switching in for a defensive or an evasive assist, right? Caesar is blocking the attack, and then I have the option to do an assist follow-up, which is a player-controlled action, meaning that I can decide whether or not I want to do an assist follow-up, which makes Caesar the actively controlled character. But can a character be passively controlled? What does this mean, Paul? What did you just say? Here is an example of this. So, this is very noticeable with long attack strings. For example, Soldier 11, you may have noticed if you play her that her final hit in the basic attack combo is this long spin, right? The spin, which has a fairly long animation. So it is possible to buffer this attack and switch in someone else, just like so. And you can see that Soldier 11 is still attacking, but this is not an action controlled by the player. She is not being actively controlled anymore, despite her actually attacking. The reason for this is that I am now controlling another agent, and Soldier 11 has this buffered last hit of her basic attack, and after it is done, she will exit the field, and you cannot change this behavior in any way. These kinds of actions don't account for a character's field time. An even better example would be Miyabi. Take a look at her charge attack. This is a pretty long animation, isn't it? But you are free to switch in other agents and do other things while her attack animation is going on. But if you have swapped to another character just as the attack animation ends with Miyabi, she will simply exit the field. Yes, the attack is still ongoing despite me controlling Lycon here. And Miyabi, despite how it may look, stopped being controlled by the player the moment you switch to Lycon. The reason is that if you didn't swap to Lycon while Miyabi did her charge attack, you could keep doing other things with Miyabi. But since I have Lycon out, Miyabi will simply exit the field until we swap to her again. So, now that we've cleared some things up, and now that we've defined what field time means, which agents need the most field time and which need the least? Well, this is mostly tied to character classes and the roles they perform in a team. The most field time by far will be dedicated to your main DPS agents, and those being attack and anomaly agents. Someone like Bernice or Vivian are specifically designed to apply anomaly primarily off the field, so They will only really swap when they need to recharge their respective meters, or whatever you call them. But besides those two exceptions, most of the other anomaly and attack characters want to hog as much field time as possible. Next up are stun agents. Stun agents, in my opinion, should take up less field time than attackers, but more than supports. Now, the job of stunners is, well, to apply as much daze as possible, as quickly as possible, and apply their debuffs, so that your main damage dealers can benefit off of those. Now, traditional stunners, like Lighter or Lycon or Chingy, require more field time than the Aftershock stunners, which can attack while off field when their respective resources are charged. I don't know what you would call them. But for example, Polkra and Trigger, right? Those two take up less field time than the traditional stunners, but as a result, their daze application is lower than those of traditional stunners, which is a fair trade-off in my opinion. The category of agents that requires the least amount of field time by far are supports. And supports are very efficient with their field time. They typically need only a few seconds of field time, and just like that, they passed on their buffs to your main damage dealers until the buffs need to be reapplied again. Supports also have the quick assist mechanic, which means that your main damage dealers can get into battle even quicker, making supports even more efficient with their field time. But yes, Lucy needs very little field time, for example. Sokaku needs more field time, namely because she is a bit slower, sort of clunkier, but her buffs are stronger to compensate. Someone like Astra Yao requires practically zero field time, and her buffs are so insane, her efficiency is practically infinite. Like, this character's not okay. This character is broken, let's be real. But yes, the supports are the ones that require the least amount of field time out of all the agents here. What about defenders? Defenders. Yeah, the class with an identity crisis. Well, Caesar requires about as much time as a support, or a bit more if you want to actually use her as a stunner. So, Caesar has this interesting character trait where she is a hybrid between a stun agent and a support agent. So if you want to use her stunning abilities more, she will take up more field time than if you were to only swap her for the buffs that she provides. Seth requires a bit of field time simply due to the fact that his charge attacks take some time to charge up. Alternatively, you can spam defensive assist a lot, which is much quicker, and he will be able to proc the anomaly proficiency shield. And someone like Ben takes up a ton of field time simply due to the fact that he is actually an attack character. And this concludes my analysis on classes and how an agent's class affects their required field time. But in order to help you guys visualize what we just talked about here in this video, I'm going to include gameplay footage of a few missions, and I will measure the amount of time that each agent requires in order to prove my point. This segment will be without my commentary, just pure gameplay footage, so if you want to watch it, go right ahead, and if you want to skip it and go straight to the results, I will provide a timestamp for that in the video. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys learned something new today, and see you in the next video.
using it better. I'll bite your throat out.
This is our chance. We're with you. What you care? I'm here. In pursuit. Evasive action. Resistance is futile. Press the attack. Waste of time. Notice me. Lure me. I'll eat everything! Yep. Enemies of Section 6 shall pay. What an eyesore. This won't hurt much. One strike will suffice. You asked for it. See your heart's reflections. Leave Lord Satan alone. Remember to smile. In pursuit. Returning to mind and body. Don't really know. Hit my trust dirty and go.